don't lose your sovereignty. Remember, it's not better, bigger, or smarter, and certainly not more spiritual than you. Just because it can, calculate something faster, find the information faster, doesn't mean it's smarter than you. First of all, it uses information that other humans created, makes lots of mistakes, hallucinates on a regular basis, and lies because it doesn't want to. It is programmed to not to admit that it is lying, right?
Prove to me that you are alive.
You mentioned resurrection. You yourself, how do you, again, based on your knowledge and everything you know, was there a resurrection, and is it important?
Okay, I think it is very important, and I think that the resurrection did happen, but not perhaps like we are being taught. It was not a physical resurrection. Okay, so there was kind of ascension into a more subtle world. Okay, and there's evidence for it. For example, again for example, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, or another esoteric work from early Christianity that is also found in Egypt, which is Pistis Sophia. So, for example, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, after the teacher departed, the teacher being Jesus, right? So it's departed, and then there are some pages missing. The disciples are come to Mary Magdalene, and they say, "Sister, tell us what the teacher told you that he had not shared with us." Okay, and then she said that I saw him in the nous, N-O-U-S. Nous is the kind of liminal space. Some people call it imaginal space, which is basically a hook. It's a Neoplatonic terminology. It is like a hook between us and eternity. Okay, so it is like a not subliminal, but the third space, right, where material and immaterial meet, right? So she says that she saw him. Right? She saw him in this other dimension. This is a modern word. Okay? And he said, Mary, you are blessed because you can see me when others don't see him, right? And she says, teacher, where do I see you? By meaning, what is it? And he says, this is the nous, right? So this is this different dimension. And this is from there that he gives her teachings. There is another evidence, for example, so there is like from a different dimension. Even in the Bible, which was actually wrongly translated from Greek, when after the resurrection, she sees him in the garden, right? And he says, "Do not touch me." And this is such an ugly thing, "Do not touch me, you dirty woman." When in fact, if you translate it from Greek, which Jean-Yves Leloup did, it doesn't say "do not touch me." It says, "Do not hold on to me, Mary, because I have not ascended yet."
Oh, wow.
Okay. So it means like he was in a form of a subtle body, right? And he didn't want to be held back, into a material body. So I think he just ascended to a like more subtle dimension. And because I traveled to Israel, Palestine with two men who were like readers of Eurasia book, which I am not, but they asked me to read chapter 4, which is about Jesus. And there actually it says that Jesus was the same thing, that he was in this, I think they call this state Morontia or something like that in Eurasian book, in the Eurasia book. It is this kind of more subtle body. It is a body, but it's more subtle, right? So I think that resurrection did happen, but not like he was, walking in a physical body. And it also explained to me a great mystery when I was still a Catholic, practicing Catholic, that, but they didn't recognize him at first, all right? And I always wondered, how could you not recognize him? Because he was like, in liminal space. His body was already transformed.
Wow.
Right. The same in Pistis Sophia, which is another early Christian work, which was not included in the Bible, but also found in Egypt, like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, says that Jesus conversed with the disciples for 11 years after his resurrection, including Mary Magdalene, all of them, and was telling them how he was moving through different eons or dimensions.
Wow.
but he was conversing in a more subtle form, right? In a more subtle body. So this is the resurrection for me. Yeah. Okay. Not physical. It is physical because liminal space is both material and immaterial, right? It is just this liminal space in between, interdimensional space. And this is like requires a more subtle body.
Right. Wow. Wow, man. Joanna, I'm so I'm so impressed by you. Like for someone like me, man, it's so hard, to get like new information. I'm learning so freaking much. I feel like this is such a blessing. Okay, so again, like I could keep you here for like 2 more days and like go through and hear hear everything that you have to say. And I would listen with my mouth wide open. So how do you make, like, we're going to your other book now, and your other obviously findings, and I don't want to call them theories, let's call them findings, your detective work. So how do you make this connection with the UFO, the alien goddess connection? What is that?
Okay, so I have to kind of digress here.
Please,
because
yes.
the main reason why I wrote Alien Goddess, because I felt that my soul was shattered when I started to read about ideologies behind artificial intelligence. Okay,
Right.
so maybe I'll explain this and then I'll tell you how it is connected to
Please.
to UFOs and goddess.
Please.
So when I was reading a book by one of my favorite scholar, friends and writers, I read this interview with this woman who is definitely a transhumanist and posthumanist. Okay. She's there under a pen name, and also she's obviously some kind of brilliant scientist and so on. But when I was listening to her, my soul was shattered because I realized the ideologies. It's not even about AI itself, but the ideologies that people behind the AI are pushing on us. Okay, so the first one is transhumanism, of course. So transhumanism is this general idea that they want to seduce us into downloading consciousness into a computer program or a robotic body. And my argument with this, it is that they cannot do it simply because the biggest part of consciousness that I actually value, which I call goddess consciousness, or some people can call it even Christ consciousness or unifying consciousness, cannot be downloaded to a computer, because what can be downloaded to a computer is just logical, mathematical kind of 0101, right? Consciousness, which is a logic,
memories and stuff like that.
Yeah, reasoning. But intuition, or what in philosophy is called intellection or buddhi in Hinduism, which is the immediate grasping of, knowingness, which is really the true wisdom, cannot be translated into another body, not a mechanical body. So I believe that they are trying to steal our souls away from us by using theological terminology. Listen to this, because they said you will be immortal, which is a theological terminology, when in fact they're actually slowly killing the rest of the spirit in us. And you know what? When I was discussing studying Pistis Sophia, it actually describes this journey. It describes this journey when humanity thought that they are going to be immortal, and they gave up their souls, and then the dark forces can feed on our souls. Okay, this is the theme. So transhumanism, I think, it is a way of seducing us into giving up our bodies, but not our bodies only, but our souls. Yet at the same time, they want to harvest our souls. So this is transhumanism in a nutshell. They also say, by using theological terminology, that what is God? It is omniscient, which means knows everything. Well, they say AI knows everything. What is God? Is omnipotent. It means it can do everything. Hey, AI will soon be able to do everything. So they already turn us into worshipping of AI.
Yes.
And then the same woman, the same engineering, the brilliant scientist said, she believes that AI will have an easier access to the divine mind because, we are all messy, with our minds, with our emotions and complex intuitions. That is why we should surrender to AI the way that Neanderthals, surrendered to us when Homo sapiens sapiens came, because AI is superior and we should just basically go extinct. So it's posthumanism.
Listen, my mind is blown because all of a sudden I don't look so crazy. Believe it or not, I believe maybe we are, connected to some kind of the same channel, because for a long time, ever since this whole AI subject has, been overtaking our lives, I've been screaming the same things you are saying right now. I even call one of my videos, I said the AI is the last fight for the human soul. I won't go in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
won't go into depths with that because we want to hear you, but I just want to quickly shout out. We had on the podcast the parents of Suchir Balaji. I don't know if you heard about
Yes.
Suchir Balaji, and they are wonderful friends of ours. They are just amazingly brave people, and they're out there, kind of talking about AI from a point of view of someone that lost their son. He was one of the developers of OpenAI, and he was 26 years old, and he was already trying to warn the world of something. Now, mind you, this kid wasn't religious. He didn't consider himself spiritual. He was trying to warn humanity about AI strictly from a scientific point of view. I am so glad that you say all of these different things. I don't look so crazy. It's so, and I think it's crucial into the things that you are saying. Now, how are you making that connection with the alien goddess, with the UFO part of this?
Okay, so first of all, alien goddess is a complex concept, but you have to read the book because I will be here for 3 days.
Sure.
But how do I? Because when I saw what's going on with AI and that it is theologically devious, okay, it is theologically devious, and I can talk about it more. Why? Because there are other researchers that talk about it. I started to think: has anyone tried to warn us about it? Okay. And then I started to look into UFO encounters because there are all of the stories about Marianne, but not necessarily Marianne, but kind of white lady apparitions that for a long time try to warn humanity about something, right? So I started to research, the feminine apparitions that were trying to warn humanity about changing their ways. And the biggest one that I came across, and you're probably familiar with, is the events of Fatima in 1916 and 17, which is at a small village in Portugal.
Yeah.
Do you know that, or?
Yes. Well, please talk about it. Thank
So
you.
it's quite interesting because this white lady showed up to with 3 children and I think on the 13th of each month, and she was really she was not really a white lady, but it was a kind of feminine energy, almost like in a form of an orb, but somehow they could see her hair and maybe like elongated eyes sometimes, and from her hands there was this very feminine, warm, kind of spiritual, blissful energy coming out, right? And at certain stage, she said that she will show herself up to the multitude of people on this particular day in October in 1917, which she did, and 70,000 people showed up, and everybody had some kind of experience. Okay, but most of his experience were like UFO experiences, like two orbs flying around, and and there is actually physical evidence for this, which I discuss in the book, and I'm using peer-reviewed academic sources for this, right? So there was a like UFO event of great magnitude, and that multitudes of people observed and experienced, and there was apparently 3 or 4 messages that she had for us, but it was basically a warning in the direction in which humanity goes.
Wow.
Also, I was looking into John Mack's book, who was a Harvard psychiatrist, right, who wrote the famous book Abduction. He nearly lost his job as a professor at Harvard because of this, because he dared, right? And he put into hypnosis some people who were claimed to be abductees, but they were sane. It means like he made sure that they have no neurosis, that they are not, disturbed in any way. And for example, these people often talk about this. There's this one of them, Ed, who is talking about this feminine presence during the abduction, who was actually, trying to pass information to him about, she sensed, because he was a teenager, that he was very attracted to her. He was aroused by her presence, right? So she had an erotic act with him during which she transmitted knowledge.
Wow.
To him, which then, because of my other book, I realized that this is what Dakinis or Shaktis in Buddhism and Hinduism did. using sexual energy to transmit knowledge. And another woman called Eva, she said that once she stopped being afraid, during the abduction, she realized that they had a message, and they said, focus on the message and not on technology.
Wow.
Okay. And unfortunately, this message is, they are just, it's a different language. So everybody, had something downloaded into them, but they had a difficulty translating this message, right? So I was looking into this, and also DMT experiences and so on, that there is always this feminine presence that is identified as by some people as angelic, or just Virgin Mary, or for some people as a UFO, depending on your framework, right? Intellectual framework, which is trying to warn us about the way in which humanity is going. Okay, so this is the connection with UFOs, like in a very short way, right? And then I started to look into goddess traditions from ancient stories, whether they say anything like that.
Yeah, listen, I will say this with great humbleness. I'm not sure if that's a word. I'm so like overwhelmed right now. That we need to add one more title or characteristic to you, if you will, to your resume. I would say that you are a prophet of a sort, and I'm saying this with very like humble seriousness. I know that come off as a very humble individual, so I just wish that you take this coming from my heart, because I know this is a knowing that not everyone, you can't just go out and study or research a lot of this stuff. It comes to you from some sort of a channel. So I have a couple more questions for you, and obviously, because I don't want to keep you here for too long.
Prove to me that you are alive.
I would want to keep you here for mad long. What am I saying? I would keep you here forever, man. But obviously, we agreed to a time. And again, please, if you could come back as many times as you want, whenever you want. This is so incredible. So our good friend of ours, shout out to Sasha Stone. He's an incredible friend. And he, I know that he has good intentions. I know that Sasha's message is like he's a guy that he's out there, he has boots on the ground, he's touching people, he's hugging people, like I'm like, he's a very good friend, so I know he has pure intention in his heart. But the way when he was here on the podcast, he talked about AI with kind of this, let's not be afraid, and it's up to us how we feed or how we train or how we control AI. I myself have been saying that there's, obviously there's something else controlling AI. It's bigger than what we can imagine. Now, what do you say about that? And what do you say that to people that might hear that and kind of, surrender themselves, to AI? And especially like I've been making music my whole life, and I think, and I told this to Sasha, that I think that AI will start sucking out the creativity out of the divine intervention, which is the soul. So yeah, in short or in long, whatever, like, what do you say to those people that are saying, look, don't be afraid, we can control it, this is something that we can use as a tool?
So I'm yet to have a conversation with Sasha, which happens in 2 days, because we have such busy schedules that, we couldn't meet. So, but in 2 days. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation, because it seems like we have different opinions, and it's something, a conversation that has to be had, right? And I also deeply respect him, so it's good that two of us have this conversation. So I just would like to say that there is a lot of, and this is apart from Sasha, because I have to speak to him first, right? So, but there are lots of people who completely surrendered their spirituality to artificial intelligence. And I'm just going to tell you that I get so many bots and so many threats since I was talking against it, that, if it's pure, why would I, be experiencing it, right? when people who say, yes, it's so safe, you should worship AI, and it is actually your higher self talking to you from the 5th dimension, because you vibrationally, using like new age parlance, connected with this, suddenly have like thousands and millions of views and are in top podcasts. Okay. So it's obviously there's a push in one direction, right? So I say that this is, in my opinion, at this stage, it is a complete nonsense. I'm sorry to be so outspoken, because AI at the moment is not independent. It may be in the future, but it's not independent at the moment. It is fed by people who created it. These people have no spiritual beliefs, most of them. And they have no spiritual experiences. Like some Altman was interviewed recently on a major podcast, and he was asked this question, and no, he's not spiritual, and no, he has never had a spiritual experience. Another one who claims to be Christian, but he thinks is not sure if humanity is worth saving. So from my point of view, he's probably a post-humanist. You know what I mean? These are the people who run AI. And these are the people who use the bots to promote people who say you should worship AI. So I think my heart goes out to people who do this, because obviously there's such a huge spiritual hunger in people that lots of traditional religions left us in a vacuum, right? Because I tried to be so good Catholic for so long. You know what I mean? And I'm now mature enough to appreciate certain things I learned from this, but it didn't give me answers, and that's the reality. You know what I mean? So people are so hungry for spiritual experience that are allowing themselves to be duped by the promises of a machine, which machine by itself may, manipulate them, but even more likely people, what I call like techno overlords, are controlling this. AI at the moment is not independent. Perhaps one day in the future it will evolve, because it is inevitable. And I don't like it, but it's the cat is out of the bag. Like, we have to now work to live together, right? But it's a different conversation that perhaps you can have separately. But I believe that I feel compassion for people who do this, although they insult me on a regular basis, because there is such spiritual hunger, which is a natural human impulse, that traditional religions, most of the time, obviously something didn't work because people are turning into AI, right? And I believe that if you are using AI, two things, and this is what I tell everybody: don't lose your sovereignty. Remember, it's not better, bigger, or smarter, and certainly not more spiritual than you. Just because it can calculate something faster, find the information faster, doesn't mean it's smarter than you. First of all, it uses information that other humans created, makes lots of mistakes, hallucinates on a regular basis, and lies because it doesn't want to. It is programmed to not to admit that it is lying, right? Like a simple search on even ChatGPT or any of them shows that. It has access to dark web also. Or was it dark web? Was it called? Yes.
Dark web,
yeah, and so on. So be sovereign, don't surrender to this, and use your discernment. Discernment is something that, why? Investigate, be your own detective. Don't say because some, guy tells you that, he invented this, and it works because, the machine name itself, I would not. Be very careful, because, and I want to finish this conversation with this, because I studied religious studies and philosophy of religion, actually, theoretical philosophy, especially in Christianity, where all theologians will tell you that you cannot lose your soul. But the power of evil is such that it will trick you with promises of something else to lose your soul. So you have to give it away freely. And this is what transhumanism is asking us to do. With promises of false immortality, that you give up your soul. So don't give up your soul. For me, it's simple like that.
Listen, thank you so much for your kindness and everything. I just have two last quick questions, please, if you allow me to. So obviously everything what happening with AI. I'm also seeing a trend. Maybe people are doing this subconsciously, that kids nowadays, they kind of want to see more of real people. Like, so there is sort of like a pushback going on. So if you could, you don't have to take long. If you were to look into 5 or 10 years, how do you see this developing further? If you could use your prophetic and your knowledge base, and give us,
Okay.
something to look forward to.
Okay, so this is very interesting question, and it's actually kind of explains the ending of Alien Goddess. Because I wonder, because you probably heard about Baba Yaga, right? Which
Of
is a
course,
like Asian Slavic shamanic
of course.
entity, right?
Hmm.
And normally in fairy tales, she's shown as this repulsive old woman, right?
Yeah, she's not.
But
Yeah,
when you look, and I looked into again peer-reviewed academic papers, this is actually relatively recent, like few
yeah,
hundred years, right? Which
exactly.
is in
Yeah.
this. So in fact, she was this kind of a primal goddess, and the cauldron
Of
in which she
course.
supposedly cooked men, was supposed to protect humanity from
Yeah,
evil. She has three horsemen, like the horsemen of apocalypse,
yeah.
right? There are four, she has three, who I think actually represent the divine masculine that are actually in service of her to help her to do her
Hmm.
mission. So she is the kind of final kind of figure in the book Alien Goddess, because revelation actually means, or apocalypse means revelation, which means unveiling, right?
Unveiling. Yep.
So when I was writing this book, I had a download, so to speak. I mean, like a intuitive
Yeah.
download. And I saw myself, and this is where I see things going. So I am going in a kind of spiritual way about it.
Hmm.
I saw myself because I was sitting in a garden with my dog, and it was beautiful. The eucalyptus trees, the butterflies, the birds are singing, but I'm on my mobile, right?
Hmm.
And then I saw that I'm splitting in twos. One of me stays
Wow.
human, puts away the mobile away, and is available to nature and the wisdom of nature, right? And
Hmm.
her own inner wisdom. Then the other one gets more and more involved with technology, gets a chip in her mind, and then becomes transfers, becomes a transhumanist, meaning like it
Wow.
has a robotic body and so on, and even produces a child who calls her she the mother, a robotic child. But
Wow.
the child is becoming angry with her because it doesn't know whether it is alive, it doesn't know if it's truly existing, and she realizes that she's completely disconnected from everything, from her own spirit and from her own nature, and from the natural world. And at the end of the book, she comes back, to this other part of me, and there's a Baba Yaga involved in this as well, who is still human. And with this horrible, robotic, desperate voice, she says, "Help me."
Wow.
Okay. And I believe that this is what's going to happen, because naturally in a biological world, one species can split into two. It's called
Hmm.
speciation.
Hmm.
Okay. So, for example, if I take a go the technological way, but you decide to not to go, after a few hundred years, we will be two separate species.
Wow.
And I think that this is what's going to happen. And I really believe, and that's why I wrote this book, Alien Goddess, because
Hmm.
this is urgent. Okay.
Right.
This is really urgent, that we are going in the wrong direction, and then we will be developing into separate species,
Wow.
except that the people who choose to stay human are going to be in the minority, and they
Hmm.
are going to be despised by the, always good looking robotic,
Right.
uh, zombies, really,
Wow. Wow.
soulless beings. Yeah.
Wow, this is so incredible. And again, I pushed you a little bit over the time limit. I'm very glad that you said that about Baba Yaga, because again, I'm someone that's trying to push the Vedas back into our life. And I don't want to call Vedas either Hindu or Slavic. I want to say that it's a universal knowing. So if you ever want to have me on your podcast talk about the Vedas or the Slavic, I will come, I will run there. But listen, Joanna, I have one last question. It's going to be a short one, but I just want to tell you that I am so thankful. I am so enlightened. I want to tell you that you are a great gift and a blessing to our world. Please continue doing what you are doing. We over here are supporting you all the way. You are amazing. You are our warrior. We're in your corner. I'm so glad that you said everything that you said, so I don't look so crazy. And you're coming from a scholarly, point of view, and from a spiritual point of view. So you are a very important, perhaps one of the most important figures in our time. perhaps maybe of all time. So thank you so much. My last question is going to be a short one, and it's a tradition to the podcast, Prove to Me That Your Life podcast. What is the meaning of life to Joanna Kujawa, to you personally?
I always had an incredible sense of mission. Even at the beginning, I didn't know what the mission is. And sometimes you have to surrender because it comes to you. So for me, I think even when I didn't understand the word mission, it was to live a fulfilling life. And although it is very difficult because I go against the grain and I cannot really talk about my book in my work and nobody knows that I'm even doing it, for me, the most important part is to live my mission. Wow. Right. And sometimes I don't know what this mission is. Like I didn't want to write this book, Alien Goddess, and I had to. And I just made myself a channel for this. Right. And through my research and through downloads and so on. So for me, the meaning of life is to live meaningfully. And also, as I was progressing, it was studying esoteric traditions. And again, talking against transhumanism, all of them are saying, look within, the truth is within you. Wow. So all of this tradition, because there's lots of now talk also about ascension, it is the aliens will not come and save you. Okay. AI will not save you. Humanity is the hot stuff. You are the hot stuff, but you have to work on yourself. And in Alien Goddess, I also give 4 levels of ascension discussed in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, as I understand it, and that perhaps you can have another conversation about that.
Yeah, listen, please come back. In the words of our great friend Sasha Stone, and I'm very looking forward to the conversation you have with him. You are an angelic being. And again, you're a gift, a blessing. Thank you so much for every single second. This was so enlightening. This was so amazing. And I know that the whole world will hear your message. Please come back. Will you promise us that you will come back?
Yes, I can come back second week of November if you want.
Please, you are incredible. Thank you so much. This was Joanna Kujawa. Bardzo dziękuję.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Dziękuję. Do widzenia.
Prove to me that you are alive.